Today, we're diving into a really big one. Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, came out back in 1997, hugely influential.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a great source for this, a really detailed summary and review. It gives us a solid look at the core ideas, the principles, even the criticisms.
Exactly. So let's unpack this. If you're looking to get up to speed quickly, but still get the real substance behind it, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Well, what's so interesting right from the start is how Rich Dad, Poor Dad just flips the script on conventional ideas about getting wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
It uses the story, right? A kid learning about money from two very different dads. There's his actual father, the poor dad, highly educated, government job, stable career focus.
The traditional path.
A traditional path, exactly. And then there's the rich dad, his friend's dad, a businessman. Totally different way of thinking about money.
And that contrast is everything.
It really is. It sets up the main theme. You need actual financial education, not just degrees, to really build wealth.
Yeah.
It challenges that idea that just formal schooling gets you there.
Yeah, that's the hook. And it leads straight into maybe the most famous lesson, right?
Hmm?
That rich people don't really work for money.
Right.
They make money work for them. I mean, the poor dad way, that's familiar. Get a good job, get a salary, climb the ladder.
Yeah, trade your time for dollars.
But the rich dad, totally different game. It's all about building investments, assets, things that make money for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of people reading it, that's the first big aha moment.
Yeah.
Shifting from just earning wages to actually, creating wealth.
And that naturally flows into his next big point, which seems simple, but is actually profound the way he frames it.
Mhm.
The difference between assets and liabilities.
Okay, yeah. Most people know those words, but he defines them really specifically.
Super specifically, an asset for Kiyosaki absolutely has to put money in your pocket, full stop.
Like rental property income.
Yeah.
Or stock dividends.
Exactly. Or a business you own that generates profit.
Right.
And then a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket.
Car payments, loans.
Right. Even, and this is where it gets controversial for some, maybe your own house, if it's just costing you money each month and not bringing income in.
Yeah, that one always sparks debate.
It does. But his point is about cash flow. You need to understand where your money is actually going and what purchases are draining you versus building you up financially.
That definition really forces you to look at your spending differently. And it tees up his next major point perfectly. We need financial education, like real financial education.
Yeah, he's quite critical of the traditional school system in that sense.
Very. Says it makes us great employees, good at following instructions and getting a job.
But not great at managing money.
Right. Not investing, not understanding taxes properly, not really seeing how the whole financial system works.
So what kind of education is he talking about then? What should we learn?
Well, it's practical stuff. Like you said, understanding taxes, but also budgeting, how to evaluate an investment, how to read the market a bit.
Spotting opportunities.
Yeah, spotting opportunities. It's the kind of learning the rich dad gave through, like real-world lessons, not just textbooks. Very different from the poor dad's focus on grades and job security.
So it's about practical skills, but also there's a big psychological piece in the book too, isn't there?
Oh, definitely. That brings us to another key lesson, rising above fear and greed.
Explain that a bit more. How do fear and greed trap people financially, according to the book?
Well, the fear is often about security, right? Fear of losing your job, fear of not having enough money. It keeps people stuck in jobs they might not even like. The whole rat race idea.
Okay, the comfort zone, even if it's not fulfilling.
Exactly. And then greed. Well, that can push you to overspend, maybe chase those get-rich-quick schemes, take on too much debt for stuff you don't need.
So these basic human emotions are driving bad financial choices.
That's his argument. He says you need financial intelligence to overcome them. Learn to take, calculated risks, not just gamble. Make decisions based on strategy, not just gut feelings or panic.
It's about emotional control when it comes to money.
Right. Which, again, the rich dad character modeled, while the poor dad was maybe more driven by that fear of insecurity.
And flowing from that idea of taking control and calculated risks, the next step is quite bold.
Yeah, the final core principle. Build your own business.
Don't just rely on a job.
Exactly. Don't just have one income stream from an employer. Create your own streams. Build something that generates money even when you're, sleeping or on vacation.
That really forces a different perspective on work, doesn't it? It's not just clocking in and out.
Not at all. It's about designing systems for income, independent income.
And when you pull all these lessons together, what's the bigger picture, the sort of Life lessons beyond just the financial tactics.
I think the biggest one is that wealth really starts as a mindset. It's in your head before it's in your bank account.
Hmm. So it's about changing how you fundamentally see money and opportunity.
Precisely. And this idea of financial freedom, he defines that very clearly too. It's not just being rich. It's the point where your income from assets covers all your living expenses.
Yeah.
You're not dependent on a job anymore.
Passive income takes care of everything.
Yes. And he even talks about teaching this stuff to kids, not just get good grades, get a good job, but teach them about money, assets, investing early on.
Breaking those potential cycles of just living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, trying to build generational financial literacy, I suppose.
So if you're listening and you're someone who wants those aha moments, who wants to fundamentally change how you view money,
This book definitely aims to deliver that. It speaks directly to people wanting, economic independence, wanting to manage their finances better, wanting to build assets outside of just their job. It's about empowerment.
absolutely. But we should also be fair and talk about the criticisms, which our source material covers. It's not without its critics.
True. What are the main ones?
Well, a common one is that it's maybe more motivational than practical. It gets you fired up to change your thinking, which is powerful.
But it doesn't give you a step-by-step guide on how to invest in real estate or pick stocks.
Exactly. It's light on the technical details. It's more about the why and the what than the detailed how.
Right. And there was also some controversy about whether Rich Dad was even a real person, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's been debated. Was he real or a composite character representing certain principles? Kiyosaki's been a bit vague on that over the years.
So it's important context. Powerful for mindset, maybe less so for specific financial blueprints.
That seems a fair summary. Its strength really is that foundational shift in thinking.
So summing it all up, the conclusion seems to be that Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't trying to be a finance textbook. It's more like a catalyst.
A catalyst for transformation, yeah.
It challenges you. That core message is pretty direct. If you are not happy with today's education and thinking, then think, learn, and invest differently.
It's a call to action. Take charge, like the Rich Dad.
Yeah. It's about thinking independently about your financial future.
So ultimately, this deep dive shows that the path to financial freedom, at least according to Kiyosaki, really starts with changing your internal landscape, how you think about money, how you value assets, and why financial literacy is just crucial. It's about building that cash flow, not just chasing a salary.
Okay, so based on all that, especially the ideas about assets and liabilities, here's something for you, the listener, to think about. What's maybe one liability in your financial life right now? Something taking money out of your pocket that you could potentially start thinking about transforming. Maybe not into an asset overnight, but could you reduce its impact?
Yeah.
It really starts with identifying what's truly building your wealth versus what's, well, graining it. Food for thought. Keep learning, keep questioning those assumptions.